Coherent light produced by a laser is made up of waves of all the same wavelength and all in phase with each other. Ordinary light contains many different wavelengths and phase relations. The laser finds theoretical basis for its operation in the quantum theory. According to the quantum theory, the electromagnetic energy is transmitted in discrete amounts called quanta. A quantum of electromagnetic energy is called a photon. The energy carried by each photon is proportional to its frequency. An atom or molecule of a substance does not usually emit energy. This is why it is in low energy or ground state. When an atom or molecule absorbs a photon in the ground state, it is raised to a higher energy state, which makes it excited. Emitting a photon with a frequency proportional to the energy difference between the excited state and the lower state is how it returns to a lower energy state. Usually, the substance will return directly to the ground state, emitting a single photon with the same frequency as the absorbed photon. In a laser, the atoms or molecules are excited, putting more of them at higher energy levels than at lower energy levels. This process is known as pumping, which is adding energy to produce an inverted population. Upon reaching this excited state, they emit radiation. If a photon's frequency corresponds to the energy difference between the excited state and the ground state that strikes an atom, the atom is stimulated to emit a second photon of the same frequency, in phase with and in the same direction as the bombarding photon. The bombarding photon and the emitted photon then may strike each other excited atoms, stimulating further emissions of photons, all the same frequency and the same phase. This process produces a sudden burst of coherent radiation as all of the atoms discharge in a rapid chain reaction. The laser is often constructed so that the emitted light is reflected between opposite ends of a resonant cavity, which is an intense, highly focused light beam that passes out through one end, which is partially reflecting. If the atoms are pumped back to an excited state as soon as they are discharged, a steady beam of coherent light is produced. The operation of laser eye surgery involves creating a thin flap on the eye, folding it to enable remodeling of the tissue beneath with a laser. The flap is repositioned and the eye is left to heal in the post-operative period. The operation is performed with the patient awake and mobile. They are sometimes given a mild sedative pill such as Valium, or they are given anesthetic eye drops. The first step is flap creation. A corneal suction ring is applied to the eye, holding the eye in place. Once the eye is immobilized, the flap is created. This process is achieved with a mechanical microtome, using a metal blade or a femtosecond laser microtome that created a series of tiny, closely arranged bubbles within the cornea. A hinge is left at one end of this flap. The flap is folded back, revealing the stroma, which is the middle section of the cornea. The next step is laser remodeling. This is where the excimer laser comes in place to remodel the corneal stroma. Laser vaporizes tissue in a finely controlled manner without damaging the adjacent stroma. The layers of tissue removed are tens of micrometers thick. The next step is the repositioning of the flap. After the laser has reshaped the stromal layer, the elastic flap is carefully repositioned over the treatment area by the surgeon and checked for the presence of air bubbles, debris, and proper fit on the eye. The flap remains in position by natural adhesion until heating is complete. CD player laser diodes are infrared emitters, usually 780 nanometers with a maximum power output of around 5 milliwatts. Their emission will appear very slightly visible in deep red. Typical CD laser optics put out about 0.3 to 1 milliwatts at the objective lens, though the diodes themselves may be capable of up to 4 or 5 milliwatts depending on which type it is. If you save optical components, they may be useful in generating a focused beam. The aspheric objective lens will be optimized for producing a diffraction limited spots at about 1 to 3 millimeters from its front surface when the optical system is used intact. The optics may include a collimating lens, diffraction granting, beam splitter prism or mirror, turning mirror, and a focusing lens. Older pickups tend to have larger and a more complex set of optics. Depending on which design it is, some of the parts may be missing or combined into one component. Current DVD drives use red lasers. The easiest way to increase areal density is to switch to lasers with a shorter wavelength, such as blue and violet lasers, who have wavelengths as low as 400 nanometers. Laser diodes, or light-emitting diodes, have the power to create a tremendous amount of light that is very useful for fiber optics. In fiber optic technology, transmitters comprise lasers and modulators. Lasers help to inject a signal into the fibers. They write the light, and the modulator changes the power of the laser light to combine the data to be transmitted. The modulator helps to pass or block the laser light. Lasers will only release one unpolluted color light. The materials used in fiber optics are similar in concept to gas lasers and laser diodes, except for the fact that a part of the fiber itself is used as the resonating cavity where the laser action takes place. Lasers and fiber optics help communication networks such as cable television companies, telephone companies, and internet providers. Most importantly, they help the speed of commuting. In holography, some of the light scattered from an object or a set of objects falls on the recording medium. A second light beam, known as the reference beam, also illuminates the recording medium so that inference occurs between the two beams. The resulting light field is a random pattern of varying intensity, which is the hologram. The hologram is illuminated by the original reference beam. A light field is diffracted by the reference beam, which is identical to the light field which is scattered by the object or objects. Interference occurs when one or more wavefronts are superimposed. Diffraction occurs whenever a wavefront encounters an object. The process of producing a holographic reconstruction is explained by interference and diffraction. It is simple, yet accurate enough to provide an understanding of how holography works.